Wonderful. Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Hispanic Heritage Month. We are so glad that you are with us this afternoon. My name is Donna Richmond. I'm the Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer at Montgomery County. And again, we are extremely excited to have you with us this afternoon as we honor and celebrate National Hispanic Heritage Month. We have two wonderful guests with us this afternoon. And so for the next at least 45 minutes, we'll be hearing from them, learning from them, and sharing with them. They have planned an extremely exciting and interactive session for us. So we are thrilled to begin this session. Everyone has received, when you registered, a copy of their bios. So I won't take the time to read that because they have a lot to share with us this afternoon. But I would like to encourage you to think about questions that you might have throughout this session, and please put them in the chat so that at the end of the session, we'll spend about 10 to 15 minutes addressing your questions and your comments. I also want to remind everybody that we do have what we call door prizes, virtual door prizes that we'll be sharing with our guest at the end of this program as well. So the title of today's DEI Speaker Series session is Pioneering, Shaping, and Changing the Future Together. National Hispanic Heritage Month honors the histories, cultures, and contributions of people from Spain, Mexico, the Caribbean, and Central and South America, while connecting the historical ancestry of the following cultures: African, European, and Indigenous. This session will provide us an opportunity to celebrate the diversity and the richness that is part of the Hispanic cultures and Latino communities. So we'll have an opportunity to learn a lot more about those cultures, and it is multiple cultures, and we'll learn about that as well. So sit back, enjoy, take care of yourselves. And right now I want to introduce Jacqueline V. Rocco, who is the president and CEO of the Hispanic Heritage Association. And with her today is Shirley Weaver, who is director of the Hispanic Heritage Association. So please join me in a virtual round of applause for our guest this afternoon. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you for having us, and thank you for that beautiful introduction. We're very grateful. Hispanic Heritage Month is a big deal for us, and we're hoping that the presentation that we did, we put together for you guys, that you guys will walk away with what we do is educate, equip, and empower. So with that said, since you have already introduced us, I want to say thank you so much to Montgomery County Commission Office of Immigrant Affairs and the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, yourself, Director Donna Richmond, and Director Nelly Jimenez Arevelo for this invitation. We're very grateful and just happy to know that we're able to celebrate this with you guys and kicking off Hispanic Heritage Month. Also, I would like to thank the Latino and Hispanic communities throughout Montgomery County for always being supportive and also present, and for all inclusive communities. At this time, I would like to introduce my team. So as Ms. Richmond said, I am the CEO and the president of the Hispanic Heritage Association, and Shirley Weaver is my director and Jennifer is my VP. They bring their best every single time we have to do something in the community. They are like top notch. So I'm very grateful for the work that they've done to showcase who we are as a nonprofit. So with all of that, before we start, Shirley and I have prepared the PowerPoint's order in a way to give you a taste of what HHA does, right? In and throughout our communities that we service. So therefore, the whole purpose is to kind of give you the experience of the mission and the vision before even sharing what the vision and the mission is, okay? So are we ready? Okay, great. We were asked to talk about pioneering and shaping and changing the future together, which I'm so glad is the topic. And why? Because the Hispanic Heritage Association has been working on changing our future together through education and personal empowerment, with the goal of supporting our communities, right, and fostering integration and respect. We demonstrate exactly what the topic of today's conversation is about: pioneering and shaping and changing the future together as one. So let's get into it. What does Hispanic and Latino mean? So many people use these two identifiers interchangeably, not realizing they're using it a little bit incorrectly. So for the record, it can be confusing, okay? But with a little of educational awareness, it does help to put things in perspective. So here we go. We're going to play a little game. It's ¿Quién quiere ser millonario?, which is a twist of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, okay? You're going to see pictures of random celebrities, and you're going to decide if that person is Hispanic, Latino, both, or neither. And you're going to do this by adding the letters H for Hispanic, L for Latino, H or HL for both, or neither. So how you're going to do this, you're going to open in your chat box. I'm going to give you guys an opportunity to do that. Open up your chat boxes and add your responses in the chat boxes. So that way we can see where we're at. You know, do we know? Do we not know? I don't know, right? So, but there's no help from external sources. All right. No cheating. Okay. No cheating. All right. So as we go through the slides, in between some of the celebrity slides, we're going to share some factual information as to why we're so mixed in the Latino Hispanic culture. Okay, let's go. You ready? Charlie Sheen and Emilio Estevez. What do you guys think? Hispanic, Latino, neither? Or B for both? Any responses? Let me see. Let me see. Oh my God. Oh my God. This is great. This is interesting. I'm so glad. This is awesome. Are you seeing this, Shirley? This is awesome.
Yes, I am. This is great.
I know. This is awesome. Okay, let me give you the answer.
Well, oh, wait, I think we got a couple more coming in.
Okay.
Okay, let's go.
They're Hispanic. We're not going to tell you yet why, but just know that they're Hispanic, okay? Sheen was born as Carlos Estevez, and their the youngest son of course, we know Martin Sheen, right? Whose real name is Ramon Estevez. But they hail from Spain, okay? Their paternal grandparents are from Spain, okay? Making them Hispanic, okay? We're going to have a lot of aha moments with this activity. All right, Vanna White, what do you guys think? Is she Latina? Is she Hispanic? Is she neither? Could she be both? Awesome. Got a couple more seconds before I reveal the answer. Awesome, awesome. Okay, here we go. She's both. She's both Hispanic and she's both Latina, okay? She is actually Puerto Rican. Yep, Vanna White is Puerto Rican. So another aha moment for a lot of us. All right, great. Let's go to the next one. Carmelo Anthony. Is he Hispanic, Latino? Is he neither? Could he be both? Awesome. Awesome. Okay, I'm giving you a couple more seconds. Okay, let's reveal. He's both. Why? Because he's half Puerto Rican. Okay, he's half Puerto Rican and half African American. Okay, because he's Puerto Rican, makes them both Hispanic and Latino. So let's give you some historical facts here. So African slaves that landed in North America and America. The total of Africans that shipped from the New World, right, were 12.5 million. Those that survived the Middle Passage, is 10.7 million, right? They landed in North America, in the Caribbean, and in South America. Those that landed in North America was 388,000, right? 100,000, right? I mean, thousand, sorry. Africans that were directly shipped to North America, all right? So because we have so many ancestors that landed in the Caribbean and South America, it makes them descendants of being Latino with African ancestry, okay? That's the one connection that we have.
So Jackie, we have somebody who asked the difference between Hispanic and Latino Latina. And I'll just let you know, we'll be talking about that in a few moments.
Right, right. So we're going through this so that we can actually give you the response to the differences between what is a Latino and what is a Hispanic, okay? So let's just get through the game and we'll definitely share that information. But that's a good question. We all have that question. So Enrique Iglesias, is he Hispanic? Is he Latino? Is he both? Is he neither? Nice. Very nice. Give you a couple more seconds for the last ones to come in. Let me see. This is good. These are good responses. Okay. He's Hispanic. He's from Spain. Okay. Spain is what we say is not part of Latin America, even though they consider themselves more European, but he's from Spain. Okay. But it is common for people from Spain not to kind of identify themselves as Hispanic. And every case is unique, right? Everyone decides to identify themselves as they choose. But you thought he was Mexican, and you learned something good today. Yes, it's the whole purpose of this. This is awesome. You know, just to kind of say my background is in education, so I love this. I'm kind of feeding off this right now. So thank you guys. All right, Bruno Mars. Is he Hispanic? Is he Latino? Is he both? Is he neither? Okay, good. All right, I'm gonna give you guys the response. He's both. His father is half Puerto Rican, making him Hispanic and Latino, even though he was raised in Hawaii. Okay, very good. Giselle Buchten. Is she Hispanic? Is she Latina? Is she both? Is she neither? This is so cool, just looking at the responses. This is good because this is going to be we're doing our education piece of what we so pride ourselves in. This is awesome. You guys are doing such a great job. Thank you. Okay, let me give you the response. She's Latina, people. Why? Because Giselle is from Brazil. Okay, even though they don't speak Spanish, she's not Hispanic. That makes her Latina. Okay, and I will explain all of this later, the difference between Hispanic and Latina. Okay, okay, interesting, right? All right, so let's talk a little bit about the makeup of Portugal and Brazil. Okay, it includes a lot of various groups, right? So it has indigenous, right? People, African slaves. We have the European influence. They also have Asians and the Middle Easterners are part of the makeup of a Brazilian and of a Portuguese, okay? The white Brazilians, descendants of the Portuguese line, is Italian, Spanish, and even German immigrants, okay? They're kind of the largest ethnicity group in Brazil, okay? And believe it or not, Brazil was the one country, well, Brazil and Portugal were the two countries that received the largest numbers of slaves in the Americas, okay? So just keep that little nugget there. And I can give you more details if you guys want later on. Okay, we have a couple more slides of celebrities before we wrap this piece up. Rita Hayworth. Is she Hispanic? Is she Latina? Is she neither? Could she be both? This is cool. Okay. All right. Okay. 2 more seconds. Okay, here we go. Tina. Okay, good. So the responses is both. Believe it or not, Rita Hayworth is Mexican. Her birth name is Margarita Casino. She became Rita Hayworth because of Hollywood, right? Just like Shirley Weaver here. She's Mexican American. So because of Hollywood, she had to change her name. Okay, so she's Mexican American. This surprised me too, people. This is surprising. All right, Mariah Carey. Can she be Hispanic? Can she be Latina? Can she be neither? Can she be both? Right. Okay. 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 So the answer is she's both. Okay. Her mom is Irish, she's half Irish, but her father is Black and Venezuelan, which makes him Afro-Venezuelan from Venezuela, making her Hispanic and Latina. Okay. It could be confusing, but we'll clear all this up a little later. Okay. This one's a good one. Vin Diesel. Can he be Hispanic? Can he be neither? Can he be both? Mm-hmm. Thank you for that information, Oscar. Very good. Thank you. I'm going to give you guys a couple seconds and I'm going to reveal this one. All right. He's what you call an ambiguous ethnicity. Why? Here, in this case, where a person may intentionally not want to say what they are or not sure of what they could be themselves, they choose to keep it personal, right? Sometimes people don't want to be pinned into a category, right? Or a case, according in his case, being an actor, doesn't want to be typecasted, right? So he does not want anyone to really know his ethnicity because he want to be able to have as many opportunities as possible within the career that he's in. Okay, and some people just sometimes don't like to tell people what they are, right? So that's what you call ambiguous ethnicity. Okay, so going into this identity politics, right? We just wrapped up the game. We just finished out who's going to be a millionaire. I'm figuring not much of us, but some of us who did well. We got some change from this, right? So we're going to talk about identity politics, right? So identity politics is basically a lot of where people kind of choose, like I said, with Vendizo, if they choose to kind of identify themselves or not, their ethnic group or not. You have terms that were, these terms were actually coined in the late 20th century, okay? You have ambiguous ethnicity, intersectional perspective, you have contemporary identity. And these things emerge through the world of marketing, believe it or not, media, social science, gaining like a more of a multicultural population, becoming more visible, okay, as we can see. These terms were actually coined by two people. Mary Wollstonecraft, who was a writer in the 18th century. She was a writer of poetry, but she didn't want her writing to kind of depict any gender, right? And she didn't want to be pinned into a category. So her writing, even though it has some gender revealing, it did not always have it because she didn't want to be pinned into a certain category. And then we have Frantz Fanon, who was a French West Indian psychiatrist, and his whole thing was about intersectional perspective, right? He definitely did not, he advocated for like the politics of being how you say typecasted, or being how you say pigeonholed into something, right? So he argued a lot about like specific things, like how people, you know, always asking about race, ethnicity, gender, identifying yourself by your sexual orientation. He argued those points because he didn't want people to be, or at least his work also, to be pinned, right, and categorized. So it's interesting because there's a lot of us that use this practice, and it's something that it's old, right? It comes from a very long time ago and is still used even today. So what is the difference between a Hispanic and a Latino, right? Hispanic refers to people with Spanish-speaking ancestry, okay? Like Shirley, she's Mexican-American, I'm Puerto Rican and Dominican. Our countries fall in Latino America, right? We speak Spanish, right? So that makes us Hispanic, okay? Latino refers to people with origins that are in Latin America, but it also includes, you know, places, countries like Mexico, Central and South America, and the Caribbean. But while we use these things interchangeably, they have a different connotation and geographical scope. And I'll explain this further as far as language is concerned. In this little box here, you'll see that we empower, right? We bring awareness. The terms that are used in this box speaks to the descendants of Spanish-speaking population. So let's look at the Latino box, right? So you have countries that include Brazil, right? French Guiana, Guadeloupe, Haiti, Martinique, St. Bartholomew, St. Martin. These are countries that do not include Spain, and they do not speak Spanish. So if you look at them, Brazil, they speak Portuguese. The other countries most likely speak more French, right? Because they fall, right? If you look at the map of Latin America, they fall within the Latin America countries, right? Right? They fall in that geographical area, right? They do not speak Spanish, making them Latino. I hope that's clear. Hispanics is different, right? It includes Spain, because the word Hispanic, well, let me say, the word Hispanic in English means Spain. In Spanish, it's Española, which is the country of Spain, which means of Spain, okay? So if you look at the countries that fall under Hispanic, is Argentina, Bolivia, Chile, you have Colombia, you have the Dominican Republic, Paraguay, Puerto Rico, Venezuela, all these Spanish-speaking countries, okay? They do not include the Latino countries because they do not speak Spanish. So that's the difference. So when you meet someone and they say, oh, I am Venezuelan, you automatically should say, oh, they're Hispanic. If you meet someone that is from Portugal, oh, they're Latino, but they're not Hispanic because they don't speak Spanish. That's the difference, okay? The uniqueness of having the Hispanic countries of Latin America, like Argentina, Bolivia, Chile, Colombia, Costa Rica, all those countries, they all fall within the Latin America, right, geographical area, making them Hispanic because they speak Spanish, okay? That's the only difference, okay? So Remember that the Latino ancestry can also include the indigenous population, such as the Mayas, the Aztec, the Tainos, the Inca civilization. They're all part of this, okay? They were the original people of these lands. So what kind of terms, right? What kind of terms do we use within our, Latino and Hispanic communities, right? So we have different terminologies that encompasses our culture, right? That makes us, that we include within ourselves. So Afro-Latino, you could be Afro-Latina. That depends where you're from, right? And we look at the geographical area that you're from, right? Afro-Caribbean, I consider myself Afro-Caribbean because I come from the Caribbean. Was born in Puerto Rico and my dad's Dominican. So that makes me a Caribbean, right? And because I identify as Afro-Hispanic, I can also identify myself as an Afro-Latina because I fall in that geographical area and I speak Spanish, okay? Afro-Cuban, this is where you can be more specific. You can say, oh, I'm Afro-Venezuelan, I'm Afro-Costa Rican, right? You can choose how you would like to identify yourself. Mexican-American is another big one. For Puerto Rican population, I like to identify themselves by their origins, by their Taino roots, which is Boricua. And those who live outside the diaspora of their countries, doesn't matter where you're from, and we're using here New Yorkers that like to call themselves New York Ricans because they live outside of Puerto Rico. Chicano is the same thing, right? You have the same thing with Chicano, Chicana, and then those of us who like to refer ourselves in relationship to our indigenous ancestry, okay? So why is this so important? I'm going to pass this over to Shirley, where she'll be able to share this information.
So I think the best way to do that is to look at some data to help us understand the impact and magnitude of the Hispanic population. We're talking about culture here. So a per popular volume indicator is television and other media information. So here are some facts. Hispanics watch approximately 33.5 billion with a B minutes of television each year. 45% of Hispanics watch only in English, 28% in Spanish only, 28%, 45%, and then 20% in both English and Spanish. Netflix, Hulu, Apple, and HBO Max are increasing their bilingual content. They're creating shows that are relatable to the Hispanic population and positively highlighting Hispanic culture. Univision, the Spanish network, is the 8th most watched network in the United States with approximately 1.8 billion with a B dollars in advertising revenue. Univision, it has approximately 1 million viewers in 2024, and Telemundo, which is the second largest Spanish network in the United States, has approximately 965,000. The media target is approximately 2 million individuals, and the network continues to grow. Next slide, Jackie. Between 2010 and 2022, the Hispanic population saw an increase of approximately 13 million individuals, bringing the total population to over 63 million. If you look at the slide, you can see this was the largest segment in the period, resulting in 53% of the increase in population. Second were Asians at 20%, Black at 8%, and white 0%, and 2 or more races at 34%. You can see the significant growth. If we go to the next slide, please. Look at the growth trend. The growth continued in 2023. The graph on the left shows the dramatic bell curve pushing upward, showing the significant growth in population between 1970 and 2022. In 2023, census tells us that this population grew by another 1.7 million individuals, bringing the total of Hispanics in the United States to over 65 million. These are individuals who identify themselves as Hispanic. This figure represents close to 20% of the total population in the United States. Now let's think about this for a moment. Let's stop. Let's go back and look at TV viewership. What do you think is happening? Well, the media corporations have definitely recognized the potential. We're now talking about a large segment of the population in the United States, which means that there is significant socioeconomic impact of this segment. As we just learned from Jackie, this segment is diverse and not only racially diverse, language diverse, location of origin diverse, it is completely diverse. And we know that social media is looking to capture this market, television is looking to capture this market, and if we look at the statistics, regular old mom and pop's Kellogg's cereal, Campbell's soup is also looking to capture this market. Let's go to the next slide. The largest identified group in the United States is actually Mexican, followed by 6 more Hispanic groups that have over 1 million in population. And you can see on the screen, they include Salvadorans, Cubans, Dominicans, Guatemalans, Colombians, and Hondurans. Spaniards, or those individuals from Spain, are about 970,000 individuals. So again, we're close to another million. Next slide. The diversity in the population varies by location. You could see this on the left. In our area, Puerto Ricans comprise the largest subgroup in the Philadelphia market. Next slide. Okay. So now that we're aware of the volume, we know that there's a socioeconomic impact. Let's take a moment and look at what is happening. We know that this is the largest group in the United States. The cohort is racially diverse. It encompasses those who are new to the country, second and third generation individuals who identify as Hispanics. There are Hispanics who only speak Spanish, others who are bilingual, and there's a growing number of Hispanics who only speak English. Given its diversity, the question is, what binds these individuals together? Jackie and I would tell you that we believe it is culture and heritage. So the next question is, why is that important? Well, this is what science is telling us. There are over 65 million Hispanics who are currently experiencing acculturation at various levels. By that I mean they are learning the values, norms, and the culture of their current environment in the United States. But what about their Hispanic culture? Enculturation is the retention of traits from the original culture. Why is this important? Well, the simple answer is when we know about our history and culture, it provides a foundation for self-awareness and understanding. Think about it. Think about the millions of people who use 23andMe to get their genetic profile. Think about the millions of people who are currently tracing their family tree. Think about everybody who tunes in and watches a show, Finding Your Roots. Why is that so popular? Because intuitively we understand this. Biculturalism is the combination of acculturalism and enculturalism. Enculturation, I'm sorry. When a person is bicultural, the individual understands both cultures and can navigate between the two. A bicultural individual has integrated the traditions, cultural values, and norms of both of their cultures. The individual understands self-identity through a diverse lens, providing a strong psychological platform for identity and development. So what does all of this mean? So I'm just going to share one little study that was done by the University of Arizona. So the University of Arizona decided to look at the impact of biculturalism on adolescents. A group of Latino adolescents, both male and female, completed a series of questions called the Mexican American Biculturalism Scale to measure their level of biculturalism. In addition, they completed a questionnaire aimed at assessing their behaviors and attitudes. What did the results tell us? The results tell us what we already know, that those individuals with the higher biculturalism score rated higher on pro-social behaviors. It makes intuitive sense. Integration of both cultures leads to strong self-image, which in turn leads to positive self-evaluation. Oh, and the other thing that these researchers found was this group of individuals have fewer depressive symptoms. As Hispanics, we are in the throes of this process. And it's not just a few, it's a lot. So let's go to the next slide, please. So why is this important for non-Hispanics? Well, UNESCO understands this very well. One of the UNESCO chairs, Mark Brennan from Penn State, said it this way: cultural sensitivity is fundamental to effective communication. Why? Because when individuals from different cultures learn about the other, they can recognize and be sympathetic to those differences. We recognize that each individual from a distinct cultural background brings a set of values, beliefs, and traditions which shape their perspective. If we understand the forces that shape their perspective, it gives us a platform from which to have constructive, integrated, and compassionate discussions when we are dealing with critical and important issues. The next slide. So, what do we believe? Well, for us at the Hispanic Heritage Association, our goal is to provide education for those of Hispanic descent to learn about their original culture as the part of their biculturalism process. In addition, our goal is to educate the general public regarding Hispanic culture and to foster open dialogue and authentic connection. Thanks, Jackie.
You're welcome. So here we are with our mission and our vision. Okay. So why the mission and the vision, right? So our mission is to pretty much what Shirley just did in the presentation is talk about what we do, our purpose, right? Our factual information, the stats that was giving, it's our reason, right? It's our why. So what do? We focus on cultural impact, and we do it through educational experiences like this, okay? We're hoping that we're equipping you with some knowledge and that we're empowering you as individuals so that you can personally gain that growth of information and then go out to the community and integrate that knowledge, okay? So how do we do this with our vision? Preservation, okay? Preservation and connection to heritage. It helps to foster growth. It helps with identity. It helps with community integration and respect. So the whole purpose of the association is to educate, to equip, and to empower, okay? And develop partnerships and relationship within the region that we, the Hispanic communities and local communities, through various forms of professional and educational outlets, okay? So what are our core values? We treat each other with respect. We work together with integrity. We care for one another, and we strive towards excellence with commitment and accountability, okay? So what are our 3 E's? As we mentioned before, preservation of the culture through implementing the 3 E's. We empower, we educate, and we equip. Why? Because we understand that the Hispanic culture influences come from so many countries across the world, from Europe to Africa, from the Caribbean and from Latin America. And so bringing these and highlighting these cultures, we honor them all. So going back to what Shirley said, why is addressing the needs of the population so important? It's also why HHA educates, right? She mentioned first generation, right? True first generation to be true self, to share the culture experience with one another. Second generation, right? When she talks about enculturation, where HHA believes we provide education awareness and support of their culture heritage education that they receive at home. Okay, so if you look at first generation, when you're coming into a country for the first time, you're adapting, you're adjusting. Then when you're creating your second generation of family, right? Then you are teaching them how to preserve that culture, right? While adjusting in continuation for further future generations, right? So this is why it's so important for HHA to make our programming so inclusive, because we invite the community to foster, right? Respect, to have compassion, and to have integration, all right? Education through history. We provide a robust programming. We focus on combating stereotypes by highlighting diversity right within the Hispanic community. We challenge those harmful stereotypes. We encourage a more nuanced understanding of the culture. And our events create educational experiences. So what are these programs, right? HHA educates. We provide educational workshops and presentations to different schools, to libraries, to community centers. We're mindful of the type of education program we want for the community. HHA's why is to serve with a purpose, recognizing that the cultural awareness and personal identity have a positive impact on the well-being of individuals and the community. This is why we purposely are the social and game changers within the society that we live in, okay? We are mindful of the world that we live in, and therefore we are even more aware of the importance of the existence, okay, of the Black and Brown communities, but we're also like to make sure that we connect with the entire community, okay? Why? Because as Hispanics, as Latinos, we represent the spectrum of the community we live in, okay? We are creating more of a workshops as we speak, as we talk about these things, okay? So if you look at the presentation, we're presently creating workshops that will complete more of what we're actually offering right now in the community. So if you look, we have the cultural awareness workshops. We have the Latino Hispanic stories, where we tell stories of our grandpaps and our grandmas, and we create a nice hands-on guided activities throughout this stuff. The cultural awareness workshops are also in relationship to our ancestors. We connect a lot of stuff that we do in our not only children workshop, but our adult workshops with hands-on lessons, interactive and fun activities, and even with our last one, community equity inclusion. We have professional workshops. We talk about these very hands-on things that what we're doing today, okay, is a good example of that throughout our communities. So a continuation of our workshop is education is crucial, right? Because it all comes to not only educating the Hispanic community, but also a broader community, right? To foster the respect and to the opportunity for us to have those open dialogues, okay? So here are more of a continuation of the type of things that we do as a community, as a nonprofit, excuse me. We equip. So we equip by cultural enrichment, okay? Hispanic cultures have a significant influence in American cuisine, music, language, art, by adding the richness and the diversity of the national fabric that we have. We equip because representation matters, right? In recognizing the Hispanic contribution, it combats often overlooked narrative that their experiences and promotes more of an accurate representation of an American society. We equip by building community, okay? Hispanic We celebrate Hispanic heritage, can foster a sense of unity, right? By belonging within the Hispanic community, allowing them to share traditions and stories and, with each other and with the wider population. With this said, check us out, check out some of the stuff that we have done online. Okay. We have done presentations, and we've had connections with iHeartRadio, where we did a podcast on colorism. Okay. Looking at why colorism isn't really spoken in our Latin and Hispanic community. How does colorism impact our Indigenous ancestors? How does it impact our mental health? Okay. So we have all these things online. Okay. We equip the community with cultural knowledge, with awareness of our history. Okay. Living in today's time represents what our ancestors have actually carried over for centuries to us. Cultural practices, norms, our very existence, period. We're so proud of the heritage that we carry. So talk about pioneering, shaping a better future, right, together. We have become well known for how we represent our heritage, Hispanic and Latino America, okay? How we've connected our ancestry lineage of information to the event and the presentation that we present. We present on tough topics, raw, if you will, in which people are not ready to listen to. Why? Because we believe that knowledge is power. We believe inclusivity equals equality, and through acceptance and awareness, okay? So let's share some insight on some events. Each event we hold has an educational component. It has a historical component, okay? So everything that we do, we bring knowledge to it, okay? This year, we were recently recognized by the Commissioners of Office Immigration Affairs in June, and we're very grateful, and we thank Director Nelly Arabelo Jimenez for that opportunity. It's been one of the highlights of our year so far. These are more events that we do. We're not only teaching children how to make sofrito, but we're teaching them the history. This is also an adult version of the same event, okay? Which is coming up in October. We literally teach the history. We go more in depth. We have more hands-on practices. We have our community participates, okay? Where we talk about this, okay? And these are some more of the events that we've had this summer. African drumming is another big thing that we do. We empower, okay? So what is the Hispanic Heritage Association? We set out to reach the local communities, and we bring awareness to existence. And to provide, believe it or not, we build self-worth, okay? HHA empowers through multiple forms of integral like Latino and Hispanic cultural awareness programming. And through, as you can see, various community events, okay? We support each other, and we support inclusivity, okay? Leveraging the 3 E's, all right? So we build self-worth through interactive empowerment workshops, okay? We provide valuable and relevant information so that we can make informed decisions. We connect with the local resources, and we create, okay, partnerships and relationships that surrounds our communities, making all of us stronger. These are some of the events that are coming up, okay? If you're interested, you can always check us out online. Here goes our vision and our mission again. So in closing, we want to thank all of you guys for having us here today and for sharing what we are passionate about: preservation of culture. Cultural heritage of our communities, actually, of people that we serve, which in essence includes you too. We welcome everyone to spread the word and to support us. You can support us by attending an event, liking us on any of our social media pages, and just being in the know. Okay, so as my partner and I will actually say, muchísimas
Muchas gracias.
Thank you, guys.
And thank you so much to both Jacqueline and Shirley from the Hispanic Heritage Association. This was an absolutely wonderful presentation. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge, your passion that really came through, and your experience. Thank you so much. And thank you for leaving us educated, equipped, and empowered. You did that today. So thank you very, very much. I want to give Nellie just a minute to say something in closing. And then after Nellie, I will announce the winners of our virtual door prizes. Nellie?
Hi, Donna. Thank you so much for having me here. Hi, Jackie and Shirley. Thank you so much for coming and celebrating our amazing Hispanic Heritage Month. I am proud Latina, and I always love when we are able to share the knowledge that, in our culture with other people, and building bridges so people understand a little bit more about us. But I wanted to make a couple of announcements. So thank you, Donna, for giving me the opportunity. For staff, and this is only for Montgomery County staff, we are having a celebration on the 24th. We're going to have a panel of actually Latinos and Hispanics that are working in our Montgomery County, my co-workers, and we're going to do a round table. So everybody's invited this next September 24th at 9 a.m. And Donna has sent information about it. And then the 25th is the public meeting. Jackie and Shirley and your team, you're welcome to come. It's our public meeting. I'm going to be doing a presentation on Hispanic Heritage Month. And also we are going to present, our commissioners are going to do a proclamation for Hispanic Heritage Month. So we are looking forward to have representation from different communities, and everybody who would like to attend and be with us that day is at 10 a.m. on the September 25th. And this Saturday, we are also having organizing a citizenship event to help residents to become citizens. And it's this Saturday at Aclamo, and the information is in our Facebook. Thank you so much. And Jackie, thank you so much for coming, for all the work you do. And, I am very proud of you for what you have achieved.
Thank you. Thank you. I hope that everyone has walked away with a more clarity on understanding what a Hispanic is, what a Latino is, and what makes us those, how we fall in those categories. I think that helps a lot. That's one of the number one questions people always ask.
It's extremely helpful. So now let me just announce our winners of our virtual door prizes. These are books that were written by Hispanic, Latino authors. And so they're based about inclusion, diversity, equity, inclusion, anti-bias, and belonging. And so I think they'll be really helpful topics for all of us. Our first winner is Michael Keyes. Second is Ruth Almy. Third is Desiree Harris. Fourth is Oscar Rueda. And fifth is Sybil Rodrigo. And we'll make sure that I get those books to you right away. And so again, Jacqueline, Rocco, Shirley Weaver, thank you so much for spending time and educating us, empowering us, and equipping us this afternoon. Thank you. And thank you to all of you for joining us.
Yes,
Have a
thank you.
wonderful afternoon.
It was a pleasure.